Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hunt Lift Eat podcast, brought to you by Hunt Lift Eat Official on Instagram. The man himself, back here in the flesh, in the new warehouse. Luke Cox, owner, CEO. Handsome fella.
It's a great introduction.
I'm just overjoyed that you're here, man.
This is my first one in a minute. Long time. Yeah, it's great to be jumping back on. This is a special one where I would not have come on because we are in the middle of a kind of a shit show here at the new HLE HQ, trying to get everything set up. If you guys are watching this, you can see the war zone that is behind me of shelving and projects and plastic and everything else. But it's cool. I was just telling the boys before we got on, it's pretty wild to like log in. It kind of like hit me as we were sitting here bullshitting before we hit record. And it's like, I mean, how many years ago did we started the podcast?
Four.
Four? Crazy. Started in my attic. Now we got a 8,000 square foot building that I'm already worried that we might be outgrowing from when I signed the lease to like what our new purchase orders are looking like. So it's awesome. And you know, for our listeners and supporters and team members and everybody, like thank you. Like it's crazy. Like it's humbling to like be doing this right now. Like big tunnel vision on like what I'm doing and like trying to like long days in here, but like I do try to take a step back and just like enjoy it. I mean, Dan will talk. It's just like, dude, this is nuts. From the attic to the basement to a full warehouse, like it's pretty wild. Yeah, thank you guys. You two are a huge part of it. It's been awesome.
We've been having a good time chopping it up on the podcast, man. Me and Kerri been cranking them out.
Yeah, man. Getting to talk to some pretty freaking cool people, man.
Dude, I will say I'm a little biased, but like been doing this a long time. 2025 is a good year for the HLA podcast. Things have been going great. We've talked to some freaking awesome people, heard some amazing stories. Like we've been on a roll, Kerri. Not to pump our own tires, but like we've had some cool people on here.
Well, I'm gonna catch up. Dan and I are driving out tomorrow for Mule Deer Days in Rock Springs, so we can crank out 3 episodes and then 3 episodes on the way back. Because I'll be honest, I haven't listened to a single podcast in months.
Can't wait for your stream of conscious notes on everything I can do better. Carter, quit touching your beard. I know. I get it.
Oh, dude, I'm the last person. My wife screams at me because we'll be watching. I don't know why me sitting on the couch, like stroking the old chin whiskers, drives her crazy while she's looking at a TV.
Yeah.
But apparently it's the most distracting thing on the planet. Yeah, I'll sit here. I've watched episodes back that I was on and I'm like, oh my gosh, I touched my face the entire time. I'm trying to make a conscious effort. So I got a cup of coffee. I can just hold it in my hands. There's something, especially when it starts getting real long, like start tinkering with it.
Dude, I woke up like Wednesday or Thursday of last week, man. And you know, thanks to all the weird places I've been, I have to use the CPAP, as you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Dude, my fucking hair was in my mouth. It felt like someone was tugging on my, like, whatever that little space between your lip and your chin is called. It's tugging on that hair. I got up, told my wife, I was like, I'm tired of combing my face. It's got to go. And I was like, you know, I'll either shave it all off and just leave the mustache again, or I'm just going to trim it all down. I was like, I don't care, but like, I'm not combing my face anymore. But then it says I'm sitting there in the chair, I was thinking about how Luke was like, you're going to wear this coyote hat and be our mountain man at events. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to have to grow this back by next year.
You got to grow it back by October. We're going to do an HLE Mountain Man Halloween challenge. Whoever's the best looking mountain man is going to win something big.
Yeah.
I had that idea because when we were doing the like, who's the better mountain man, me wearing it or you wearing it, I was like, dude, we should make this a comp. Have people like send pictures and it'll be fun.
Well, I definitely have time to grow it back out.
Dude, I had to buy a damn beard straightener because mine's getting so long that the dang CPAP like mask like flips it out. So I get this like duck's ass. Caroline was like, you're not ordering a beard straightener. I'm like, I have to. Like, it's like curling.
Yeah.
All right. Enough about beards and bullshit. That'd be a good name for the podcast episode, Chad or Cole or whoever's doing that now. Let's roll into what we're talking about today.
Kerri, you're the star of the show, man. I'm excited to hear your story. You and I've spent a lot of virtual time together, man, and feel like I got to know you pretty well, and have a lot of respect for you, and excited to hear kind of the other side of, your previous job and where you've transitioned and grown into your life now. And I think that'll resonate with a lot of people, man. So as Luke would say, let's roll it back to the beginning, man.
Yeah. Well, first, man, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and tell my story. As you guys know, I've kind of set myself on this new mission on my I don't know, second life, I guess you want to call it, right? And that I'm living right now, and this is a great way to do it. I was talking to Josh Day a couple days ago, and I hope this isn't a repeat for our listeners on here, because I know part of my story has been told a few times in and out one other podcast, but I kind of wanted to take the time to kind of really tell my story, from the beginning, as you said, all the way to what I'm trying to accomplish now, in the hopes that it'll help somebody, because my life now is dedicated to having as many adventures as possible, right? And helping as many people as possible. And I want to help everybody, right? I obviously have a special place in my heart for veterans, especially within the soft community. Those are my primary guys I'm seeking to try to help. But I mean, I want to help anybody that I can, and hopefully my story will help. But yeah, I've been on Hunt Lift Eat for 3 years now, Luke, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I came on to Hunt Lift Eat probably
let's go. What'd you do in your previous life? So before,
man, I was leading to that, dude. 6 months before I retired, I joined Hunt Lift Eat. Right.
All right, my bad.
All right. No, so prior to that, man,
I'll let you go.
Yeah, so I grew up kind of like adventuring, right? Like my dad was in the army. I lived all over the place. Spent a couple years in Korea as a kid. Spent some time in the UK, all over the US, man. So like adventuring, traveling, exploring, doing new things was kind of always in my blood. 9/11 happened when I was in high school, and I was actually a senior in high school. I'd already joined the National Guard at that time. I was called Rep 63s, untrained soldier, basically. So I hadn't gone to basic or anything like that. So I joined August 2001. I was actually in 20th Special Forces group. I was going to go be some communication security repairman. That's what my job was going to be. And of course, a month after I joined, the World Trade Center went down. The GWAT started. And so I immediately put in for a conditional release, because I was like, man, by the time I graduate high school and get to basic, the war's going to be over. And so I put in for conditional release, and I ended up getting it. It took a long time, because Army bureaucracy works, and unfortunately, I was fighting I was fighting the National Guard in the state through Alabama, and then the federal. But I ended up going active duty in 2002 as under an 11 X-ray contract. Ended up becoming 11 Charlie. 11 X-ray is infantryman, but non-designated. So when I came in, there was two MOSs for infantry. It was 11 Charlie, 11 Bravos, rifleman or mortarman. I ended up becoming a mortarman with an airborne contract. Spent some time in the 82nd. I deployed in 2003 to Iraq. Honestly, man, it was as a 19-year-old in the mean streets of Fallujah, operating between Fallujah and Baghdad. It was everything I thought war was supposed to be. It was like fucking living Black Hawk Down, man. Like I was having a blast. As fucked up as that may sound to people who haven't been there, it was everything that I could have hoped for, right? And it had its negatives, right? So after that, I deployed again, northern Iraq. It was the most boring deployment you could ever imagine. I spent 5 months in an Iraqi prison staring at mountains, right? And so I swore I was never going to do that again. And so I went to selection in 2006. Actually, June 6, 2006, class of 666, right? Kind of an indicator of how the rest of my life was going to go for a while. But yeah, so I spent the rest I started the Q course January 2007, graduated early 2008, recycle French because I'm dumb. But came out as an 18 Bravo, which is a Special Forces weapons sergeant, assigned to 3rd Special Forces Group. I ended up helping to stand up our new 4th Battalion. So immediately got there, and they weren't deploying. So I volunteered to go join a team and stand up a brand new technical surveillance detachment within 3rd Special Forces Group. Came back from that trip, learned a lot, had a great time. Went back to 4th Battalion, did 2 pumps with them, had an amazing time. All 3 of those were to Afghanistan. So at that point, it was 2 to Iraq and 3 to Afghanistan. And I went to the schoolhouse shortly after that. I kind of saw what it was like to transition from being operational, being deployed, and then going back into the real world at that point, right? That was a huge, huge challenge, right? To transition going from, at one moment I'm up on a mountaintop gunfighting, and next thing you know, I'm at the schoolhouse and I've got a desk inside a cubicle farm and I'm trying to do nerd shit, right? Wasn't my element. So I kind of saw the challenges with that. And at that point, I was married to a vegan. So the outdoors for me was all just hiking, right? I was a nature observer. Really got into fitness at that point. That's when I started competing in strongman, which led to Highland Games, which led to a powerlifting meet. And really, really kickstarted my fitness journey. Instead of just being, working out because of my job, it was now I was working out for a sport, which also helped me with my job. After my SWIC tour, which, by the way, I did a deployment in the middle of, and I'm probably one of a handful of people that have ever done a deployment on a non-deployable job. SWIC stands for Special Warfare Center and School. It's the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School. But it's a non-deployable position, job. You're there basically to help train the next generation of Special Forces soldiers. That's what the qualification course is for. But I ended up doing a 6-month trip out of that one back to Afghanistan, which was awesome. Again, one of the very few people that have done that. Came back from that and went back to 3rd Group, which I came again right at the right time, man. Like the story of my career is right place, right time, dude. My entire career spans the GWAT, and it was fucking awesome, to be honest with you. But I came back from my SWIC tour, went back to 3rd Group, immediately took a job as an LNO in Germany, focusing on the continent of Africa, more specifically Northwest Africa, which was a totally different ball game than what I've been used to. I've been used to, counterinsurgency, what they call combat FID, foreign internal defense, where you're actually partnering up and like going after bad dudes, right? The Taliban, Al Qaeda, ISIS, or whatever. You're actually in combat. Where Africa was a totally different ball game, which was far more complex, right? I wasn't dodging people aren't dodging IEDs on a regular basis. People aren't getting in gunfights on a regular basis. Not that they don't happen, ask Derek. But it was super complex, and it made me a better Green Beret, to be honest with you, right? Because instead of focusing on that tactical aspect, I was now looking at things operational, strategically, bigger picture stuff. But anyways, coming back from that one, I ended up going down. I spent a while in one of the countries, Northwest Africa, by myself, operating as the Special Operations Forces liaison to an embassy. That was another awesome, super, super grateful for that experience, but learned so much. And then I capped off my career doing counterterrorism in northern Iraq. So I kind of went back to the beginning almost. And it was on that trip, right? So that was my 9th total deployment, 7th one that was combat. And at this point, prior to that, I was still married to the vegan. So I was married to the vegan when I was in Europe. I was married to the vegan all but one of my Afghanistan trips. Still married to her when I went to Africa. And finally separated before I went to Iraq. So while I was in Iraq, I was separated from her. Very volatile, toxic relationship. If you guys don't take anything else from me, like, take that, right? Like, good looks is not everything in a relationship, right? Careful who you hang out with, who you stick it in, because bad things can happen. But anyways, so long story short, right? I'm in Iraq, and I'm responding to a couple of gunshots, which ended up being nothing. Apparently people were hunting at night. But I'm coming out of my room and I slip on some staircases, right? So everybody in Iraq loves marble. Well, the whole Middle East loves marble staircases, marble floors, or it's like a fake marble. I don't know. But anyway, it's slicker and shit, right? When it rains there, it fucking pours. right? So monsoon season, it's just everything is soaked. You're going to have leaks in the roof. They don't have pitched roofs. They have flat roofs with drains, and the drains get clogged super easily. So you end up having leaks in the house. Well, hear these gunshots. I'm in board shorts and flip flops. I come out of my room, which is right in front of the staircase. I hit that stairwell, and there was a puddle of water at the top of it. And I went screaming down those stairs, fucked my back up like something fierce, right? Problem was at that particular place and that time during that deployment, you really couldn't afford to have somebody down, right? Because there was 3 of us doing a job, and I couldn't take a day off. So I ended up being my own medic. Was injecting myself with Toradol to get through that deployment. And I came back, and I was still pretty fucked. But I kept trying to basically play through the pain. And I managed to make it work for a little while. You know, I'd have good days and bad days. And slowly the bad days started overcoming the good days. And then I had a partial parachute malfunction on my 57th jump. Luckily, I walked off the drop zone, but that was kind of the nail in the coffin for my career. And so at that point, I just divorced a vegan. I'd spent 18 years of my life focused on the war. And now all of a sudden, I can't be on a team anymore because I can't walk at the end of a flat range, like an easy day flat range. I can't walk at the end of the day. And so, you know, I'm lost, man. Like, very lost. I know what it was like to come back from a deployment and go into something that was kind of new, like, you know, after that, when I went to that SWIC tour. So I kind of saw the signs that things were going to go bad, and I didn't know what to do. You know, I've got 2 ex-wives, like, as proof of the fact that I cared about the war more than anything else. There was only 2 ways I wanted to leave a team, and that was either with retirement orders or a body bag. And to be honest with you, retirement orders scared the shit out of me because I had no fucking idea what I was going to do when I left the military. And so I stayed after the parachute malfunction, I stayed on the team a little bit longer to help them prep for another Africa trip. And it was probably late July, early August in 2019. And my team leader was a huge avid bow hunter. Like, that's all he did. All he did was bow hunt. And then I had a weapons sergeant that was he was a big hunter, but he was more of a rifle guy, but he'll pick up a bow in bow season. And they both kind of sat me down because, like, I was going to the 3 shop. Like, my war fighting days were over, you know? And honestly, I'm scared. No fucking idea. I'm freaking out a little bit, right? And they said, hey, man, go buy a bow. I was like, all right. So I went to our local archery shop. My wife now, who was my girlfriend at the time, actually bought me a bow. My birthday is in August, so she bought me a bow right before hunting season for my birthday present. It was like a $400 like ready to hunt kit. It's like a PSE Stinger, had like quiver, sight, everything you needed, right? And like, we walked out of the shop, $450, and I was ready to sling arrows or something. And I fell in love with shooting my bow in my backyard, man. Like, it was fucking awesome. It was great coming home at the end of the day. And, you know, I'm gonna tell you right now, working in that 3 shop, I was the most stressed and the angriest I've ever been in my life, right? I don't know what to compare it to, Carter, in your world, but, you know, I'm responsible for basically coordinating for 18 different special forces teams to go do 18 different jobs throughout the world, by, with, and through my enablers, support kits, things like that. And things don't always work out the way you want them to, but dude, I remember I would wake up pissed the fuck off, man. Just pissed off, just waking up pissed off. Go to bed pissed off. But shooting that bow, man, that was an awesome way to come home. We did a podcast with Dan where he talked about kind of separating work from home, and one of the ways he did that was shooting his bow, man. And 100%, dude, shooting my bow was awesome for that. And then, of course, you know, September rolls around, and my weapons sergeant goes, hey, man, be at my house opening morning. Be at my house, I think 4:30 in the morning. I said, all right. So I show up at his house at 4:30 in the morning. I went to Walmart and bought my license like a couple days prior. And he goes, all right, man, this is a climber. I said, okay. And he goes, this is how you use it. I said, all right. And he walked me out to this tree, and he said, get in this tree and come down to, like, I think he said 10. And so I've never hunted before in my life. I fished a little bit, as a younger man, but I'm sitting in this tree and a black bear walks under my stand. Dude, I had been in North Carolina at this point probably 18 years, right? I'm in the woods all the time. Cause remember, I was a nature observer, right? I did a lot of hiking, a lot of bushcraft type stuff. Never saw a bear. I'm up in a tree stand and a bear walks under me, man. And I got a bow in my hand. I'm a predator, you know? And I've got this, and I'm not hunting for bear. I don't have a license. I don't even think it was bear season. But dude, it was that moment, man. I was like, that's it. I'm a fucking hunter. I know what I'm going to do when I retire. You know what I mean? Like instead of being scared, like what the fuck? I'm like, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm obviously fucked up enough where they can med board me, so I'm probably going to be okay. I'm going to be medically retired and have my pension. So what am I going to do? I was like, I'm going to be a fucking hunter. And I threw myself into hunting, man. And the boys unfortunately took off to Africa very shortly after that first hunt. So I lost all my kind of little mentorship and kind of guides out there. So here I'm out there just figuring it out. Luckily, we were in a day and age where I can pull up YouTube on my phone and get all the questions answered. I ended up shooting my first deer that year. Actually with a rifle, shooting my bow on November 10th and dry fired it. It's I was like, shit. Well, the bow shop's not open on Veterans Day, right? And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to not go to the woods. I don't have a hunting rifle. I don't have a large caliber rifle at all. I've got an M4, shoots 5.56, and so I'm like, well, that's what we're doing. And so I take it out, man, and watching YouTube, trying to learn about terrain and funnels and kind of just where to be. I go set up on my climber that I'm still borrowing from my weapons sergeant. And 80 yards from me, this little spike comes out and stands there perfectly broadside. And I'm like, well, here we go. Let's do this. And I dropped it, like immediately flipped over. Yeah, 80 yard shot right in the heart, flipped right over. It's kind of spoiled me, right? Because I was like, oh, hunting is easy. If you were talking about tracking dogs and shit, tracking blood, fucker died right there. Yeah, shot placement matters. And so I get down and I get up to this deer that I just killed, and I am ecstatic because here I am, like I decided this is what I'm going to be. I'm a hunter. And now, holy shit, I really am a hunter. I just harvested my own animal for the first time. Again, all my buddies were deployed, so I couldn't call anybody. I don't know how to field dress an animal. So here I am with YouTube in this field trying to figure out how to field dress this thing. And I got it field dressed, but it was just, man, I chopped that sucker all up, dude. It was not pretty. It was not easy. It was not fast. But that kind of sealed it, man. Like that was proof that I could do this. I knew what I wanted to do, and that was proof that I could do this. And I did one more year in the Army after that before I retired. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do, or at least I thought I did, right? And that led me to finding you guys, right? So now I'm on Instagram and I'm looking at obviously
real quick
What's
before
up?
you let me jump in before you kind of hit this next chapter, because I think that there's a couple key things that I really like, and I've said it for a long time now. I think hunting is one of the best pastimes, short of like technical mountaineering. I think that, stuff like that, but like for a guy that's coming from the military, especially combat arms, where you're spending a lot of time mission planning, you're spending a lot of time in the woods, you're doing these things like, and whether it's whitetail hunting, but even more so when you start getting into like backcountry stuff, but whitetail as well, especially if you're hitting public. And there's so many parallels to the skill sets that we developed in the military. It becomes that, like, it scratches that itch. It gives you like that sense of purpose. You're going through, you're checking gear, you're walking in the woods with a weapon, you've got the intent to go find and kill something. Like it just applies itself so much, and then it walks you into this journey that becomes a lot more about going than just going to kill something. But I really not, I would, I think it's safe to assume most of our listeners are already hunting. I know we got some that don't and haven't, but like hunting is a direct parallel between all that stuff, and then the community, which you're about to get into, that you can find around it, and just in general, in the right spaces, it feels that same way. Like hunting camp feels a lot like hanging out with the boys in your platoon or your team, or when you're sitting there around the campfire, like where you're sitting there in camp and you're like on the side of a mountain and just dealing with terrible weather. It's that same exact fun of like when you look back at like the field problems that sucked so much, and it's just such a natural thing that it's what I just recommend guys that are like lacking and are going through that transition. And luckily, like I got really serious about it before I got out, and then we don't need to get into my whole story, but like kind of purposely tried to set myself up to not have that transition period of like lost purpose, all that stuff, that spiral that can happen. And so hunting's definitely huge for that. Like I think it's the most therapeutic thing you can do.
Dude, it's hunting is so healing, and I think it may be lost on guys that grew up hunting, which isn't, they've already had it, right? But for guys that came on, I know Carter came in a little later in life too, but like, dude, it's so healing, to be out there in the woods, to be a part of nature and all that. But yeah, man, the parallels were massive.
Yeah, Kerri, I like immensely that you had such a similar first hunt experience to what I had coming into it.
You dry fired your bow too?
I didn't do that, but I had the experience where I had a mentor of sorts, and get dropped off at a tree in the dark and see ya, like, bye, right? And that was like such a formative part of my hunting experience. I like that. We have vastly different careers, right? And just life experience, but that shared experience, I think that's an important part of a lot of people's first time hunting experience. That makes me happy, right? And then when it all comes together, right? There's not many moments in life when you have those euphoric, like like God is reaching down and slap you in the face, right? And you're like, oh, this thing that I'm doing right now, this is what I'm gonna do forever, right?
Yeah.
And you like, like you said, you just have to be like open and willing and like listen, like, yes, this is a trajectory and a positive trajectory, right? That I'm going to pursue forever, right? And for listeners, maybe not with military backgrounds, like, Luke, you said like it was so natural, right? It's so innate. And, maybe without the military background, but when I first did it, and, other civilians may experience that as well, like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? This feels like the most natural thing I've ever done, right? It wasn't sitting in classrooms in college and whatever, going out to bars. I was goofing around while you were doing cool guy stuff. But when I sat in that tree, I was like, oh.
We did a lot of that too.
Huh?
we did a lot of going to bars and sitting in classrooms. You can't be in the Army long without sitting in a classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It really is, man. It does unlock something that does. There's a level of like primality. Is that a word? Primal? Primality. I'm gonna make it up. It's a word today, but like that, like just feels real, and like it's just. I mean, I've built my entire life at this point revolves around it. Like my wife said we were never gonna do that, but we did. Like I purposely planned my kids' birthdays around hunting and when I can hunt. Right. With the control that I could have in that aspect was like, it was strategic. And it's like, because I want to be able to balance that, the time away, the biz, all that. But then also like growing them up. And that's like what I'm the most excited for, right? Like I'm going to take Barrett on he's 3, he'll be 4 this next hunting season, and we're not going to kill anything, but we're going to go out together, and he's going to, I'm probably going to try to take him on a shed hunt this year, and like just growing this and like building a life around something that feels so real. That's
awesome, man. Like, so my kids, they'll probably never actually go hunting with me, but I mean, just getting them in the outdoors is something that's like incredibly important to me. Like my kids are coming next month, spend a week with me. You bet your ass we're going to be in the woods, probably shed hunting, because shed hunting is not mean because you don't have to kill the animal to get the shed. Yep. But yeah, man. So I found this passion, right? I'm still in the Army, and for anybody who's ever gotten out of the Army, I listened to a podcast with Derek Wolf on it, and it kind of sounded very similar to when he left the NFL. So I mean, there's other parallels out there. It's not just being in the military, but there's a sense of community that doesn't go away completely, but it definitely degrades, right? And so, I spent a very, very short time in the conventional Army, and I spent a very long time on teams with basically 11 of my best buddies. You know what I mean? Like, that's what an ODA is. 12 best friends going out there to do chaos around the world, right? And so you grow really, really tight with these guys and that community and that bond that you have. And it's not really out there the same way as it was on a team. And so, like, I knew that it was going to be hard coming out of the military. I didn't know how hard. You just hear everybody else say shit. And so you're like, yeah, it's probably going to be hard. You're like, I think I'm good. I think I'm going to be good. But luckily, man, like I told you guys, I found you guys on Instagram because I started looking up more hunting stuff. And obviously, I'm into fitness. And so, obviously, you guys popped up. And then when the application notification dropped, to join the team, honestly, I had no idea what I was joining. I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Is this a job interview? Is this a club? Is this an ambassador? I was like, fuck it. I'll sign up. Fuck it. I was actually in an RV.
You're not the only person that didn't know. We had a guy show up in a suit thinking it was a job interview time. So,
oh, dude, I wore a polo. I was like, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to wear a polo. I don't fucking know what's going on. But I was in my RV, or I was in my borrowed RV. My boss let me use his RV because my wife had we still weren't married at this time, but we were living together. She had PCS'd already because she was doing a school en route to her next duty station. And so we were getting the house ready to sell. And so it was basically empty. And I've got an RV parked out front, getting ready to move it to an RV park. And I'm sitting there and I do the interview inside this RV, man. Like, still have no fucking idea what's going on. I have no idea when I'm actually leaving the Army because I'm going through a medical retirement. So there's no set date. But I was like, man, yeah, when I found that it was like a community, I was like, oh, it's good, because I might need that. I might need that community. I was like, maybe not. We'll see. But anyways, fast forward a little bit. I retire. The day I signed out on terminal leave, it was in like October 6th or something like that. So right in the middle of season. Drove straight to Kentucky where my wife was stationed and found where the public land was and hit the woods hard. I was a team member and I'd get on, I'd interact every once in a while, but I wasn't very serious about it. I knew maybe, hell, I don't even think I knew who Luke was, but I was focused, right? Because it's hunting season. So I get through hunting season and then it's kind of like a now what? Like, holy fuck, man, it's January. I can't hunt again until September. Well, I can attempt to chase turkeys, which hasn't worked out for me. But I'm like, dude, what do I do now? I still wasn't super involved with the team, man. And I started spiraling. Like, started going downhill fast. My mental state just started severely degrading. I spent 20 years in one place surrounded by people who were like me. We're all fucked up in the head. We've all got our own demons, but we're all there together. And so it's normal. And now I'm not with them. And so, dude, I went through and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I tried different medications. I didn't go like do drugs or anything, but I tried different medications that were supposed to help. And it just seemed to make things even worse. To the point where I didn't think I was going to live to see the next hunting season. Right. We're getting kind of deep and dark in here, man, but I'm an open book. Again, I'm hoping if somebody hears this, it may help them. Right. So anybody who's listening to this, if you need to reach out, man, absolutely reach out to me because I've been in those dark places, but I'm fucking spiraling, man. I wasn't very religious at this time. I'd kind of started dabbling in to the Bible and shit like that, but not really. Right. But I remember asking to come out of this, man. Like I was spiraling so hard and it would get to the point where I'd lay down at night and I couldn't shut my brain off. Right. I started thinking about everything that I had fucked up throughout my life. Right. And I'm talking big shit. Like there's a couple dudes. We don't have to get into that whole story, but there's 2 Afghans that are dead and I take a lot of blame for it. Right. So you got big shit like that to like I tried to make a joke at the cashier and she didn't get it and thought I was an asshole. And like, that just fuck, you know what I mean? Like that compounded more than like, you didn't think it was funny. That's okay. To like, it's playing over and over in my brain. Dude. I was going fucking crazy. And honestly, I couldn't see an end. I wanted it to end, right? I couldn't see an end. I was still not talking to anybody. Barely talking to anybody to hunt, lift, eat, barely talking to family members, barely talking to former teammates and friends and things like that. I'm not very good at communicating in the first place. And then when you're in this hole, you can't, right? Like you want help. I wanted help, but I couldn't figure out how to ask. I definitely couldn't just ask, right? I'm really good friends with my old battalion chaplain, who kind of pointed me towards Christianity a while ago. And it just took me a long time to fucking find it because I'm stupid and hard-headed. But dude, I pulled his number up several times and I couldn't hit call, right? I just couldn't fucking do it. And so again, like I said, I was trying different medications to try to figure something out, right? Well, one night I stopped. I looked at my wife and I said, I think this is giving me anxiety. That's one of the medications. And she goes, well, then don't take it. I was like, all right. So I stopped taking it, man. And lo and behold, like that medication was not doing me any favors. So not only, I lost that sense of purpose. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I had no idea, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't see the future. I didn't have, like, I had friends, but I didn't have friends, right? I didn't have close friends. I didn't have people near me. Nobody was doing like, banging on my door to go fucking grab a beer or whatever, like that wasn't there. It wasn't like it was back in North Carolina when I was surrounded by my people. The hunt, lift, eat guys didn't really know me very well. Cause my fault. I didn't interact a whole lot. And so, I was praying and I was asking, and again, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Right. So I'm just basically in my head, just asking, please help me out, pull me out of this. Like, help me find the future again. Right. And, it must have been August, man. It was right before the season hit. Luke actually hit me up and was like, hey, man, I want you to take on some more responsibility within the team. I want you to be the Kentucky State lead. And I was like, all right. So I was like, well, shit, I got to do something, like somebody asked me to do a job. I'm going to try to do it, which led to me becoming the assistant region lead and then just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I started getting that sense of purpose again, right? So Hunt, Lift, Eat it pulled me out of that dark place, like extremely dark place that I was in, and just that community. And, you talked about slapping you in the head and saying, pay attention, dumbass, here it is. Like that's what that text from Luke was. Well, one of them anyways. I got several more as we continue to go. But I kind of started to see a future, right? And then, to be honest with you, I'm really glad I went through that dark phase. Obviously, I'm more glad that I came out of it, but I'm glad I went through it because I'm able to use those experiences to not only see it in other people, because I know what to look for, but to hopefully help other people. Let them know, like, hey, man, like you may not fucking know it, but there is an end. It will end. Can't tell you when, I can't tell you how, but it's going to end. But that put me right back in the hunting season, which I was again focused on hunting. I was doing stuff for Hunt, Lift, Eat. And it seemed like every other week, Luke was giving me a new job and giving me more responsibilities, which, led to him flying me out to,
I said he does that sometimes.
Yeah. He's like, hey, man, yeah. So you're doing pretty good at this region lead assistant thing. I need you to be the membership guy. You're going to start interviewing people. All right. So, I actually led interviews for the next application season that we had. And then Luke actually flew me out to Pennsylvania to work the Great American Outdoor Show, which again, Luke had already given me so much through Hunt, Lift, Eat, and and it kind of redirected me, giving me a little bit more purpose and more of a direction, right? So I knew still I want to do something within the hunting space, or basically hunt, spend time in the woods, but kind of gave me a little bit more direction instead of just being a guy out in the woods. Like maybe I should do something within the hunting industry. And then maybe I should use my experiences to try to help people, which leads me to my new life plan is to have adventures and help people. But when I got to PA, man, like working for Luke, had a great time. I actually met a lot of the guys first time in person. Prior to that, I'd met 2 guys on the team in person, and that was it. So that was my first real experience meeting more team members and actually doing things with the team. And that led to more opportunities just being there. I got the invite to go to Alaska. I started working with different companies, doing different things. And it gave me another direction too. Just that one trip to PA, it was 9 days, 9 or 10 days, whatever it was. So I started this new trajectory, this new path. And now, like, I'm living what I want to live. I'm living the way I want to live, and I'm doing the things I want to do because of it, right? So I started guiding, which led me into more guiding, doing stuff with, potentially doing stuff with other organizations, doing that special operations hunt, which I told you, Luke, the other day. Old Derek's going to go next year. Yeah, so I'm going to get him out there. Yeah, so get more of that stuff. It came. What I did 2 shows with you. No, 3 shows with you that year. So I ended up doing one in Illinois. Then we went out to Denver, did that one. That one was amazing. It was a short one, but it was a really good one, and a lot of really good dudes out there. Started doing podcasts with Carter and some of the other guys, so it kind of like everything started snowballing, right? To this, like, I'm really going to do this, man. Like, I'm in the hunting industry and I'm going to start fucking helping people. And it kind of continued, man. I did that Alaska trip, and that was amazing. And hopefully that will continue. And the ultimate end goal of that is to take special operations veterans and give them the experience that I had, more extreme experience than I had. Because instead of being at a tree stand and seeing a bear, you're going to be in the backwoods of Alaska and hopefully shooting that bear. But that moment when my team leader and my weapons sergeant told me to buy a bow, dude, it changed my life. And then when Luke said, I need you to do more responsibility on the team, again, that changed my life, right? And so I'm trying to use this to help people. Like I said, the Alaska thing, hopefully it's going to be able to bring special operations veterans up there to get them into hunting, kind of introduce them to that passion. I'm hoping to do the same for some other organizations. I'm hoping to get more and more involved. If anybody out there is listening, has ways to get me to help people, absolutely, I'm all ears. Doing that special operations hunt in Texas. I went out and helped Luke for 2 or 3 days in Virginia to help get some guys in their very first year. That was another amazing experience. And I spent my life, doing things by, with, and through. And a lot of that was as a teacher. So not only do the parallels of the tactics that we use in the military coincide with hunting, now I'm teaching people how to hunt, just like I used to teach people how to do those basic infantry tasks and things like that. And so basically I'm living a life of a Green Beret again, just in a different sense, right? Different mission, different op tempo, different terrain, and all that stuff, right? But yeah, so that's it's got me here. Now I'm a regular co-host on Hunt Lift Eat. I do some R&D for some outdoor companies. I travel around when Luke tells me to and go talk to folks into buying t-shirts and hats and other cool shit. Yeah, and then hopefully continue doing this Alaska stuff. I'm moving to Texas. If anybody's in the Texas area and wants to help me become a better guide, so I can guide, I can be a better guide for these veterans, hit me up, man. But yeah, but we kind of talked a little bit about it before we hit record. Again, just now getting in religion, like, it just dawned on me that was God's telling Luke to hit me a message, telling me I needed him. And little things like that have kind of come up. In fact, I was doing that last hunt down in Texas with Mike from Project Savior. Me and him were guiding all these Green Berets and some enablers on all these crazy exotic animals on my buddy's ranch down there. And we got to talking, and if you guys both know Mike, and anybody who hasn't listened, is Blue Collar Brawler, runs Project Savior on Instagram. Dude is a very loud and excited guy, especially when you start talking about Jesus, right? Very excited. And so I'm not that guy. I'm not excited. I don't get loud. I mean, I can get loud, but I'm not the loud, excited guy. I remember I was talking to him, man. We were in between hunts, and he's telling me about Jesus and all this stuff. And I said, "Listen, man," I said, "I've been reading, I've been praying." I said, I don't have the sureness that you do. Like, that's what I want. I want the sureness that you do." And he said something along the lines of, "Well, you need to fucking find it because I want to see you in heaven." I was like, "All right, bro, cool." You know, and,
Sounds like Mike.
yeah. So we're sitting there, we're talking, and that whole trip up there, man. It's about brotherhood and fellowship, right? So it's very very heavy on the gospel. So it's not just out there killing critters. It's doing a lot of Bible study, things like that. And while I was out there, I was checking Instagram, man, and some dude that I had never heard of, wasn't following him, nothing, pops up in my DMs. And actually, it was when I was down in Virginia, man. I got a message. A buddy of mine's got stage 4 colon cancer, and he asked me. He goes, "Hey, man, can I give my son your number in case like I fucking die? That way he can ask you about his old man." And it sent me on this tirade, and I'm like, dude, like, not cancer is, it's not necessarily preventable or anything like that, but there's things that you can do, and there's things that we were exposed to while we were overseas, and then you come back here, and then we're exposed to the bullshit, like standard American diet, all the bad stuff that we do to ourselves here, which compounds it, which is why veterans have a higher rate of cancer. And so I went on this long tirade, and it led into more. You guys both know me. I go on rants. I went on a rant about that and about drug use and about the suicide problem and all this other shit. And but anyways, I'm down there and I get this DM from this dude, and he goes, "Hey man," he copied what I had posted and said this spoke to me. He's like, I'm an addict and I've been lying to myself. I've got all these issues. He's like, I'm checking myself into a rehab starting tomorrow. He's, doing all this other stuff. And then at the very end, he goes, "And I'm gonna start going to church." I was like, holy shit. Oh, here it is, man. God just slapped me in the back of the head and said, "Here you go, fucking idiot. Pay attention." And so, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at all this other stuff, and I'm looking at where I'm going in life now. And I'm no preacher or anything like that, but I can tell you that the bad times don't last forever. My last unit was 3rd Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group. And our motto is hard times don't last, but hard men do. And it's fucking true, man. And so I've been through some hard times, and I know for a fact there's going to be more hard times to come, but those hard times don't last. Hard men do. And if I can use my experiences through those hard times, do the things that I've done, do the things that I have come out of, I want to use that to help people. In hunting and the community that we have at Hunt Lift Eat is how I came out of it, and I think the outdoors and hunting in particular is extremely healing for everybody, not just military veterans or, police, firefighter, EMT, all that kind of stuff that also see wild shit, but like it's healing for everybody, But anyways, I talked a lot and went on a fucking wild tirade right there, man. Hope that was all right.
No, that's good stuff, man. And I think we've talked about some of the mental health stuff on previous episodes and all that, but it's so important, and it's real, especially with men. Like, we kill ourselves, like it was like 4 times the higher rates. And then like, if you're a vet, like it's even higher. And then like, there's all these things that like, skyrocket those odds. And when you like isolate it for factors, man, like so many of it is, there's going to be some sort of substance, usually alcohol, especially in the veteran community, bad relationship, and then isolation from like peers and a group of like-minded, especially, I'm speaking to men here because like I'm not a woman, and I'm not going to pretend to know the psyche there, but like, and I've seen it with like my guy, like so 2 of my former soldiers just killed themselves like 3 weeks ago, like within the same week. It was like a few days apart, and that was pretty shitty to get that news. And it's tough because like I was talking to Derek about it because he's dealt with it, and I talked to another buddy that was in the unit with me, and I reached out to a few of my old guys, and it's hard because I was a company commander, right? And like in my 1.5 2 years in command, I probably had 450 soldiers in and out of my company. So like, it's unrealistic that like I could like maintain contact with all of them it's just a few select ones. And I knew both those guys. One of them was one of my favorite soldiers. He's a medic, and never just didn't expect that one at all. That kid was just always really positive, hard worker, really, really good at what he did. And I don't know any of the specifics surrounding the situation, but you've got to have, as a man, you've got to have other men around you. And what I've seen and what we've noticed with some of my peer groups and stuff, and some of my guys that I've been tight with, maintain some contact with, is especially when you're going for you're away a lot, right, from your family. And so you start getting a lull, or you get out of the military, and it's you pour everything into the time with your family, which is not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. I'm in that phase now where I get to spend so much more time with my family, but I still get these punctuated times where I'm surrounded by other men. I have constant contact with other men that hold me accountable. They're sounding boards. I hit my breaking point the other night, with everything going on. And I wasn't having a meltdown or anything, but I usually this, hard times will pass. I have a pretty good psyche with that. And I'm good at putting my head down and just grinding through. I left for Corps Cadets at Virginia Tech. My grandpa was a Vietnam vet. Just, this too shall pass. That's what he told me before I went to Hell Week. And it was I used that, but I had a bunch of stuff just hit in 30-minute time frame. And I reached out. One of the dudes was asleep, and then Derek was I'm awake. And I called him, and we talked for 45 minutes. And just having that was just being able to say all this stuff. And I prefaced it with hey, I know this is just me bitching, and I have all my tibia, so I'm probably bitching to the wrong guy right now who just went through it. But I just gotta lay this all out. And dude, it's so important. And it's you can't do it alone, right? And the dynamic with that kind of stuff that you have with your spouse, and definitely with your kids, is different. Because if I start telling my spouse anything that's negative in my head, she's going to start spiraling, because she thinks if I'm worried, then we really need to be worried, even though that's not necessarily the case. But sometimes it is, and so
I hit it so well. Holly had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea that I was as bad as I was.
Well, I'm supposed to told her the rock, right? We're the rock, that the stability for the family unit. And especially with the higher risk stuff I do on the entrepreneurship side and the rental properties, invest, if I told her everything that went wrong, she'd be in a perpetual state of just constant anxiety. And because she wants, women typically, and I'm speaking in generalizations here, but typically crave stability, security, and a level of comfortability, because that's what they want, right? They're in charge traditionally, and within my life at least, of the house, the home unit. And then I'm going out, and I'm killing the food, sometimes literally and figuratively, and I'm bringing it home, whether that's money, finances, investing, the future I set the trajectory for our household. So I don't need to burden her with that. And if I just bottle all that up, we can only take so much. And me 2 years ago wouldn't have called a soul. I would have started drinking.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how and this is something that I didn't know until right before we recorded, when he told me that. And I knew you were struggling. I just thought you find an HLE and get involved in the team. I never knew that it coincided directly with your breaking point or getting close, praying, and then me being hey brother, I need, I found that out 40 minutes ago, an hour ago. So but the influence that you've had on me with cutting booze and trying to be more mindful of my body, because I put everything in the company, and and I'm still not doing what I need to be doing on the training front and all that. That's going to come. It's a season that I'm in right now. I spend 12 hours a day in this place, but
that's part of the reason I'm so hard up on the booze, is because everybody I know that has killed themselves, they were drinking. And I 100% promise you, if I was still drinking, I quit drinking about 6 years ago, I think. Shortly after I got home from that deployment, I quit. But if I was still drinking, 100%, I would not be here. Not be here.
And it's one of the, in every, this is anecdotal, I'm not going to say, but every experience that and I don't know these two most recent ones, anything, but the ones when I was in the military that we dealt with, every single one of them had alcohol as a common denominator and a relationship problem. And as the catalyst to the event. Now, that's not to say that there's not past traumas and issues that are going to build towards it, but the catalyst event is that mix. And I'm not a teetotal, like nobody should ever drink ever, right? Like, and I think we probably differ a little bit. Like, I will probably at some point in my life like have beers again, but for me, it was like, why am I drinking? Drinking to cope, drinking to deal, and I'm at 15 months sober now, somewhere thereabouts, and like what cutting the alcohol, like that crutch went away, and so now I had to figure out other things, and it forced me to like, okay, am I gonna open up? And like, there's been this like path of like that Memorial Day episode that we did this last year. Like, I'd never been that vulnerable before in my life to anybody, much less like on a podcast that we broadcast. So whatever our listenership is like, and so like, that's what like the community of men that I've surrounded myself with, like, it's that mutual support. Like, I didn't even know it, and I did something that helped get you out of that rut and change the trajectory with, you know, it wasn't intentional. I needed some help. I mean, I wanted to pull you in because I knew you were a good guy, right? Because that's what you put out into the atmosphere and like into the universe of like being a solid dude, like being dependable, doing what you say you're going to do. So all these things that like contributed to why I asked you. But like I had no idea. But like the influence that you've had on me, it's like this, it's just back and forth building, and it's happening concurrently because like none of us is where we need to be, and we're never going to get there. But like, you surround yourself with the right group of men, especially because I don't have relationships with women outside of my wife, right? Like, I don't have it's men. Like, I'm going to hang out with men. That's my world if I'm not with my family. And most of the people, like even in the army, like you have these friends, right? And they're your friends, and a lot of it's just trauma bonding because you're just in shitty situations together, and you become really close really fast in like a weird way. And it's not to say that those aren't real relationships, because they are, but are they going to be lasting? Are they going to like, you know, go beyond the military? Like, I have 11-year career, maybe 4 guys from the army that I still maintain contact with consistently. Maybe 5. I have 5. Yeah. And like, yeah. So who you surround yourself with, finding that community, like as a man, you can't be work and family, because then when you lose work and then that any job, you see it. That's why I think it's one of the reasons why when guys retire and they reach retirement age, they die so quickly.
Yep.
Because they lose purpose, they lose the community. They're only friends because they poured everything of their life into their work and into their family. Their kids leave, maybe their wife passes, whatever. You got to have something, and you got to surround yourself with the right people.
And that's why one of the things I wanted this as a reason for, because I do know a lot of like former like CSMs, things like that had long careers, 25 plus year careers that they die like within a year or two afterwards. Great platoon sergeant of mine just passed, early 50s, like did probably a 28-year career. Former company sergeant major of mine, again, early 50s, just died. He did I think a 30-year career. Yeah. But like, yeah, that's part of it, man. Like, you got to find something. My dad just retired from his, he retired Army and then retired as GS, whatever the hell he was. And I called him the other day. I was like, how's retirement? He said, boring. I said, you've got to find a hobby. Luckily, I'm moving down. I'm going to, be in the same city as him come this summer. But I'm like, we're going to go kill hogs a lot. Like, we're going to be out a lot killing hogs because you've got to find something. You can't just sit around.
Well, dude, and unless you've experienced it, like just thinking of your story, Kerri, it's almost impossible to extrapolate thinking about the impact that you can have of somebody touching you on the shoulder and bringing you into something new, right? When those 2 guys did that with you, go buy a bow, right? This all started with go buy a bow. Go buy a bow saved your life, right? Like, there's no mincing words about it. That's, was that their intention? You said you were really good at masking it, right? And perhaps you weren't down in the depths at that point in time, but boy, was it coming, right? And so, it's just overwhelming to think about the impact you can have on somebody's life, even when it's unintentional, right? That brought you back to religion, right? That, hunting saved your life. You say it all the time, right? And brought you to this community where you've impacted so many people, and the respect people have for you, and the respect Luke and I have for you is immense, man, and well-deserved. But that's, maybe that's the call to action, right? When you have that group of, men around you that you can call and have like real conversations with. I think that's every time we do one of these where we get a little real. I'm like, I need to do that more. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that's like super healthy, right? And it's not always the easiest conversations, or the timing doesn't feel right or whatever, but that touch on the shoulder could, not only save someone's life, but there's a ripple effect there, right? And now you're going to be taking somebody else hog hunting, right? And that could be just as impactful as that original go by a bow. And it's,
Yeah.
you can't dwell on it too much, right? I like to toss big thoughts like that up to religion and God, and let him sort that out. But it's very real.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, that's one thing I love about doing these podcasts is, not all of them get real deep and heavy. Some of them do, but like every single one, man, I walk away a little bit better,
Definitely.
But yeah. And there's dudes that are obviously hunting is the way I want to help, especially guys who aren't into hunting, but like there's things that we've all experienced that other people just maybe listening in that can change their life, like maybe they're like, we got teammates, right? Obviously, if you join Hunt Lift Eat, you probably either want to hunt if you're not already hunting, but they're still dealing with their real world problems, their everyday life problems. Maybe something that one of us said on here is going to help them, going to change them. Maybe they're going to reach out, or maybe they're going to crack open the book, man. Like, so I love us. That's another thing too, man. I'm extremely grateful I have no fucking idea why you guys told me to come do a podcast and be a co-host on this, but another thing I'm extremely grateful for, but yeah, it's giving me a little bit of a voice, getting to meet cool people, and hopefully helping dudes at the same time, man.
It's good perspective to always remember, like, when you're talking about these different people, listeners or whoever out in life, like the hardest thing they've ever done or experienced is the hardest thing that they've ever done or experienced, right? And it's, I think it's easy for us to get bogged down in, comparing experiences and things like that. But to that person, whatever they experienced, whatever their hardest thing was, that's very real for them, right? And so you can't compare, apples to oranges kind of thing. But this space and this passion we've all decided to pursue kind of as the great equalizer, leading us all back to these same conversations that we're talking about, and having real conversations, and having a core community around you, and supporting each other, and maybe being vulnerable to reach out and ask for help, or pick up the phone when you're driving to the grocery store and reach out to somebody, because it isn't that hard, right? And it's easy for that to slip in the back of the mind and go about your day to day.
And then that's one thing too, man. And we mentioned it before. Luke said 2 years ago he wouldn't have called anybody, and well, hell, it's 2 years ago now. I couldn't call anybody. So that's another thing, man. You just mentioned, yeah, it's really, really easy to pick up the phone and call somebody. But if you haven't heard from your buddy in a while, or you know that he's going through some shit, like, be the dude to call him or her, if that's the case.
I just had a buddy go through a pretty rough patch where there was some pretty dark thoughts and some actually intent, and I don't want to get too much into it, but had that conversation about like, hey man, like anything, if you go down this again, like call me or drive up, like whatever, you can stay with me. Like, and he said straight up, he's like, dude, it wouldn't have mattered in the moment. Like you're, and this is something that I've always struggled with, right? Because like I've been in some pretty dark places, but like that hasn't been, I just would self-medicate with alcohol and just high risk behavior in general, a lot of dumb shit. And so like I've always struggled with like, because I've always thought it's an inherent, and this is gonna be potentially controversial, but whatever, but like an inherently like selfish act.
Mm-hmm.
Because like one of my buddies that I was pretty close with in college killed himself, and I was a pallbearer at his funeral, and I watched as his mother collapsed on top of the casket as it was lowering down, just wailing the most. I mean, I'll remember her wails till the day I die, because it was just a sound that nothing but a mother who just lost her only child, who was the pride of her life, joy of her life, could make. And but the more I've just learned, it's like that's just not how. It's not this. You're so fucking twisted in the logic, like nothing's making sense, and to where like that's the only recourse to, because you're such a burden, or you're a liability, or whatever. This is the only way that like It's not that this is just so painful that I want reprieve. It's like you actually think you're doing everybody else a service, or you think that this is the only option. And like, and it's changed my perspective a lot on it. And then having this conversation where he was just like, it's the board, it's getting ahead of it
Yeah.
and having these conversations before you get to that state, because when that's happening, and then you like add in alcohol, you add in these other variables, you have some sort of catalyst trigger event that just becomes the breaking point. It's too late. Like in that moment, like once it's done, like that azimuth's going. In a lot of cases, not every case, right? And there's a difference in attempts and how they're doing it. And versus when there's a whole thing that I studied when I was in the army about it. But like cries for help versus true intent and all that. But like you've got to get ahead of it. And if you're struggling with whatever, like I said, I'm not a nobody should drink ever. But it's really easy to rationalize how you're not an alcoholic or how you don't have a problem with alcohol. Maybe not even an alcoholic, or how you're not using alcohol as a coping mechanism or any of these things in a negative way. Like take an extended period of time off, not a month. A month isn't. I used to do a month and think I was golden. Then I did 2 months, think I was golden. And it was like about the 6-month mark is when like I started to like really have to like figure out my shit, because it was like this crutch is like really apparently not there. And it was like social anxiety. Like I told you guys, I think I talked about it on another one, like having the panic attack in the freaking Buc-ee's internally. It wasn't an external one, where like there's so many people and I had my son with me and I got really like defensive and like I wanted to just like separate and create space, like all these different things. And like it when you take that extended time, if you're going through that, like do it, test yourself. Like I think 6 months is kind of the minimum, to be honest. A month is like everybody tell, I do a month. I do dry like I didn't feel like I could do a month, no problem. Sometimes I had physical cravings after 2 weeks, which is not a good thing. But like, I don't know, like get ahead of it. If you think like see it in yourself, have the self-awareness. If you're feeling isolated, like you're stuck in a spot, if you don't have like put yourself out there in a way, just build a community. You don't have to go open up to people, but like start building relationships around things that like people that share your values.
Well,
Because
and
that's in the military, you're coming out with guys that like don't, on a lot of cases, right? Like it's like I trust them with my life, but not my money or my wife, like that old saying. Like that's a real thing in the military. Like where you're with a guy, he's a dependable dude. You're like, oh, he's a good dude, but like, I don't associate with those people. If you're not aligned with my values, like you might be an acquaintance, but you're never coming in the inner circle. And I'm on a like, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, so pretty much no matter what you're going through, right? And there's, different things for different situations, but there's a lot of common factors, right? Take care of yourself, right? So fitness, be healthy, pay attention to what you're putting in your body or not putting in your body in the case of alcohol or other substances, community and nature. Like those 3 things right there, I don't care what you're going through. Those 3 things right there are going to have a massive impact on saving your life. None of you guys had any fucking idea what I was going through, but I was still in the gym, right? I was still going out to the woods, and you guys forced me into that community. Yeah. I think Luke might be frozen.
That old Wi-Fi, Wyoming.
There he goes. Here he goes. He came back.
Must have been a cloud passed over my Starlink.
but yeah, and that's one thing I love about Hunt Lift E is I don't think it was intentional, but you created that. You created that fitness, right? Pay attention to your health, right? Nature and community, right? And all 3 of those are vitally important. And then the other stuff is just kind of added to that, right? But yeah, it's the most important things. That's why I love the path that I'm on now, right? I know what I want to do. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I know I'm en route, right? With the Alaska thing, there's a potential I'm doing stuff with other veteran organizations at that same ranch that I do the soft hunt with. I don't know. I'm not as close to Derek as you are, Luke, but I'm pretty close to him, man. I got him coming out there. I don't know what kind of mental state he's in, but if he's not in a good mental state, maybe bringing him out there will help, or situations like that,
Jared's
just getting
one of the
guys.
most positive guys I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I know he's going through some shit, but he's I think he's in a pretty good, especially now that he's home.
Yeah.
Of course, you talk about a guy who just keep getting kicked in the nuts, man. Like, about to go home, loses his dog. Like,
Yeah.
But
goes home 2 months late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important, and you never know, right? Because like we're good at hiding it, we're good at masking it, like whatever that is. Like, even when I look back, and sometimes like if you don't have self-awareness, you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like when I was in Louisiana, and Carter handed me a Bible. Was that on the hunt?
Yeah.
It was on our antelope hunt. And it was right before, or I was home on baby leave. We did this hunt. So at that point, I'd only been away from my family for like, I don't know, a couple months. And then when I PCS down to Louisiana, and so it really wasn't that big of a deal. It was like, they came down and saw me. We hung out in the camper that I was living in. And then like I left again. He handed me, it was one of his really good buddies from college who was in the Army, and he was killed in Iraq by an IED. And he was a peer. Well, yeah, he was behind me a little bit, but we were a peer, essentially in rank, and like, and everybody kind of knew because there wasn't a lot of casualties going on during his name's
Weston
Lee. Yep. And everybody, but it was pretty widely broadcast because he was an officer, platoon leader was killed. He's in the 82nd. And then I, found out later that Carter, was really close to him, but it was his Bible, and I still have it. And that was right when I started kind of getting back into some religion. And I was in Louisiana, man, and like just bad time for HLE. Just like our Amex was maxed, had a $27,000 minimum payment. American Express was calling me literally every day, when are you paying this? And I finally told, I was like, look, I can't. I don't know. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, our business card, like, I don't have 27,000, so I can't pay you. Like, I will pay you when I have $27,000. Like, I don't have it. And I was away from my newborn, my son, my wife. It was just a rough time, and just looked at that, picked that up, flipped to a random page and started reading it. And like, it helps, and where I shifted on my religion, because when I was younger, I had to have the answers to everything, right? I had to have, there's contradictions. This doesn't make sense. I did the reading. My Sunday school teacher didn't. Like, they don't even know what they're actually talking about. Like, how do I know more than these people that are teaching it? And I couldn't get these questions that I would ask. And I was really inquisitive, and like, I had like, I would challenge, and everything was about challenging, and like why it wasn't, like why this didn't. And I got to this point, and I'm just reading it, and I was like, it doesn't even matter if it's not real. Yeah, all right, I'm going to where I'm going anyways. And if it is, great. But it's less about this idea of like heaven for me. It's just more about like the wisdom that's in the word, and then in whether it's like in our heads and in our psyche or not, like it just allows you to like not push things off, but like lighten the load, lighten the burden. And like, and what I'll tell you is, the more I've delved into it, and the more I've paid attention, and the more I've tried to live by it, the more things have worked out. And the more I've focused less on numbers, and we, we're dialing that in because we have to, it's a business, right? And the more like I've let the chasing of the ego numbers of like, I want to do this much, and it's just more like, we're just going to build this, and we're going to try to help people as we can. And like, we can't help everybody, and I get a dozen people asking for money a week, but like, the more I do that, the more I've been successful, the more the company's grown. Like I told you guys, I'm sitting here where this move's been expensive. I've been hemorrhaging capital. I don't have a lot of money personally or within the company. Like, the company's doing really well, but like, we're hitting these lulls and these snags, and it's like, man, like, I was talking to Charlie, who is the COO for the company. And I'm like, all right, we got to buy all this stuff for this warehouse. And I'm like, looking at the price, things you don't think about, like these shelves. Like, these things are so expensive. Like, each one of these like bays are like $1,000 each. If you're buying this thing's new for 15-foot tall pallet racking and a forklift and all these things. I'm just like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna buy what we can. I got this much cash in our cash bag. So from Great American, we crushed Great American, sold the I mean, it was incredible. And it was awesome. And we were riding this high, come back, big issues with our warehouse renovations, all this other stuff. I'm like, we'll just do that. To the dollar almost. We had exactly enough through what we found used on Marketplace to buy our forklift, buy our pallet racking, buy our floor truck, and then still have cash left over to then have our cash to then go to this next show that we're leaving to tomorrow. Like to the dollar. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, the stuff like that happens.
That's the thing when you stop serving yourself and start serving something bigger than you. Yeah. And that's also a good plug. You guys should go buy some fucking t-shirts and hats, all right? Help out with the new HQ build.
by the time this is airing, we're either just had a sale or we're having a sale because we're trying to clear out everything back at we're gonna call it the warehouse, really my basement in Colorado, and try to sell as much. So we're gonna run some pretty big sales. And that'll be the last sales we run for a while, probably till Black Friday. So definitely take advantage because it does help, and everybody that wants like restocks and like all these t-shirts, like just so you guys understand like where we're at in the backside of the business, like if you want that stuff faster, it helps us if you buy other stuff in the interim so we can clear things out and make room and all that. But we are going to be able to grow significantly with this new space and be significantly more organized, expand the fulfillment team, provide better customer service, faster response across the board. And that's what it's, and we've talked about it. Like, it's not what I've learned through the business is like, if I took HLE and scaled it back into something that was pretty manageable, I could hire one or two guys and really be able to like run a good, successful business and job for myself. And like, I have, personal and family goals that don't align with that. But really also what it's about is like, I want to build a business so big that I have a place for when, your wife retires, Kerri, if you guys decide on Wyoming, like, yeah, I got a job for you right here, full time. Let's go. Like, I want to be able, like, I got guys in the Army that I still talk to that like they're getting out soon and they're retiring. It's like, I want to be able to have that. Like, I have a landing place that I know the culture of the company is good, that we're doing cool stuff, that we're building community, that we're values based. Because I see so many guys like the sole focus that during the transition, because there's this fear because the Army is such a security blanket that it's like, I need to go find a job. When they take the first job, the first offer, and they jump into something, and then they're undervalued. They don't like the job. It sounds great. Everybody's so excited about this is the job, right? Everybody I talk to that gets out, it goes, and then like I talk to them 6 months later, and they're like, oh, it sucks. But it's like, oh, the next job, and the next job. I'm like, well, I'm going to get this promotion, and now it's going to be good. And then you get into this cycle of just like, and then the money gets good, and then the lifestyle expands. It's just like, I want to be able to like provide that. And I thought the catalyst for all this was going to be the team early on, and it is to an extent. But like, and maybe eventually when we do grow to the point that that's like full-time positions, we can really provide the service and the value. But I realized on the flip side, it's like, I got to build the business because the business is its own thing. And that's what's going to be able to, I can help a lot more people if we're financially stable and secure and we have excess capital and we can like, yeah, right now I could go send $1,000 to some small things. Well, not this moment, but like generally I can do that. But like, or if we do what we can do, we invest back in the business, and then at a certain point, and that becomes $100,000, $1 million. Like, our ability to give back grows so much more. And I used to feel like awkward about like talking about making money and like, oh yeah,
Well, so what you're doing,
I build a business and I can hire people and I can like, that's what this is all about.
Yeah. So you're living a purpose-driven life, which is what I've been trying to stress. I don't have like a massive social media follow, nothing like that, but I do try to use my platform to give off a little nuggets of wisdom and things like that I've learned over the years. But you are living a purpose-driven life, and you're serving something bigger than yourself, and you're going to help other people. You are helping other people, and you're going to be able to help even more people live their purpose-driven life. And that's whether you fucking started off that way or not, man. That's what HLE is, man. It's a purpose-driven route for some of us. Well, quite a few of us.
Yeah.
It is. And I mean, you guys and this company are why I miss parts of the Army and like struggle with a couple things, but like I don't have that fall off, right? Like it was just seamless. And like my last year in the Army, I didn't really work for the Army anyways. I was doing HLE full time. I was on the road. I was taking leave. I was, doing all these things, transitioning. And so I didn't, it honestly was easier. Like, cause it was like, I could now do all this without the Army, without the anxiety of the Army on top of it.
Yeah.
It just that was one of the things when it comes to forethought. I didn't have a whole lot of forethought with this company, but as it started to grow, and like one of the things with the team was like selfishly, I was like, I can replicate that community through hunting because I've got like my core group of guys, we all already did that. And I was like, and those are the only dudes that I talked to from the Army, from my career outside of two, are part of HLE in some capacity. Like, and that's been cool. And I would stress to folks, and whether it's hunting or whatever, it doesn't matter, insert X, but like have your plan, and your plan doesn't just, and this is the thing in the Army that we always talk about in the military in general, is like have your plan, but it's always about your career. What's your job? So you're not destitute living on a bridge. Well, the odds are you actually will never be destitute living on a bridge for the most part, right? I mean, there's but have your plan for what is your replacement for the purpose in the community, not just the paycheck. And so many guys chase the paycheck that they're not looking at the bigger picture. And I had this thought 2 days ago, and it was just like, because I was sitting here thinking I was probably sitting in this same chair staring at the massive amount of stuff, and it was just like most people rent their lives, like the lives they want to live. Like I'm trying to own mine.
Yep.
I want to own my life, my lifestyle, everything else. Like I'm not going to work so then on the weekends I can go live my life, or on that 1 week a year, or 2 weeks a year, or a month a year. Like my life is mine and I control it. And like it's not easy at all. It's way harder than having a job, I can tell you that. But like my wife's uncle passed last week, and like I don't know, she just left and to get back for the funeral, and I kept the kids for 6 days, the longest I've spent with my kids without my wife ever since I had them. I mean, it was great, and like I mean, it was tough. Respect the hell out of my wife for what she does, but like it was great. Like it was like I probably spent more time with my kids than I have in like months. I mean, probably years, maybe ever, like in aggregate. Like that's not true, but you know what I mean. Like it's just but we had the ability to do that. And like I get to do cool stuff. Like I'm stressing right now because I haven't packed up for the show we're going to tomorrow. But I'm gonna get to go to a hunting show, hang out with a bunch of cool people, a bunch of cool brands, talk about conservation for mule deer, support a good cause, and like do these things. It's cool, man. And like it doesn't have to be hunting, but like whatever you want to do. And it's not an all or nothing. You don't have to like totally burn the ships and risk your whole family's livelihood. And being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody. But like there's an entrepreneur, like find something that you can go work for a company that's aligned with your values, go do these things. Like don't be afraid to take a pay cut, like position your life, limit your debt. Like there's these steps, and this is probably should do a whole podcast where I talk about this stuff, but like the things that you should do or you can do, I won't say that it should because I don't have all the answers, but you can do things to set conditions for you to then be able to take control of your life. I've been doing this for like working on this. The company has been 6 years, and like this whole lifestyle for 8. It's almost a decade to get to where I am now, which is like a struggling business owner. It's a long time horizon, and like you have time. Like if you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, 50s, like you've got time to still do this and own it. And like, don't rent your life. Try to own it. Work to own it. Like,
and that's one of the things I want to do is help people find that. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe I'm an anomaly, right? Like I had no fucking idea what I was going to do when the war ended. Zero idea. I put forth zero effort into figuring it out because I was sure I was going to die fucking in a pile of brass surrounded by the bodies of my enemy somewhere. I don't fucking know, right? And I think there's probably a lot more people that are like that. So leaving the service, whether it's, after, one pump and they get out or a long career, and I'm wanting to help them find that thing that you're talking about, that purpose-driven, living the life that they want to live, a purpose-driven life that they enjoy, right? What do they say? You die in your 20s, and most men die in their 20s, get buried in their 70s, something like that. And that's fucking stupid. Or the people like you talked about, they work for a paycheck so they can go do what they want to do 1 or 2 days a week. or wait till they're 62, 65 to be able to do the things they want to do. Like that's fucking stupid, Like
Why would
humans
I
were not
waste
used to
my
do that.
youth in my physically, well, I'm not my physical prime, but I probably should be age wise, but my physical prime working. So then when I'm on the tail end of my life, I can go enjoy it. Like
Yeah.
that always, they never, and that's what, like, a big student of Dave Ramsey when I was younger, which kept me out of a bad place. But that's where I really deviated, was because his thing's about this long-term plan so you can retire when you're in your 60s. And it's like, no, no, no. I'm going to be way more aggressive because I want to retire. I mean, by all, like, it would be a step back in lifestyle, but like I could retire right now if I, and like, not with without the business, with like rental, like these things. That's what that was my goal. That was my first goal before I started the company. It was like, I want to be like able to retire by the time I'm like 32. And if I had gotten out of the army when I tried to, I could have. And like building that out is like, it's so important and it takes sacrifice. And that's the other thing, is like people will complain and they'll talk about these things and how much they hate their job and how much they have too many bills and there's so much debt and all this other shit. They don't stop living. They don't make the fucking changes.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work, but it is so worth it, because like once you get on this path, whether it's entrepreneurship, or just taking ownership of your life through other things, your personal growth accelerates so quickly. Like when I look at like who I was a year ago, 2 years ago, like it's unbelievable how much it's like forced me to like become a better man quicker, a better father, a better husband. And like, huge shout out to my wife. And we struggle. Like I'm not gonna act like it's like this, it's all sunshine and rainbows. With like, it's hard. It stresses the family unit significantly. But if you can align together through hard conversations that it seems like a lot of people don't have with their spouse, which you need to, of what your shared vision is, so you can be moving in the same trajectory, which is going to reduce resentment that you might not even know is there long term, and all these other things. You will grow together exponentially. Like my wife and I have been together for like 8 years, but like we've lived 4 lives together, deployments, like all these different things. Like it's like you can, I don't know, it's tough. I mean, it sucks like in a lot of ways, and like I'm in the middle of like a suck phase, but like this too shall pass, and like
Hard times will last, man.
hard men do, right? Like, it's so worth it. And like I've come out to the other side of so many of these periods where American, I think I have a screenshot somewhere of that balance of how it was overdue, because I knew, I was like, this is, and this is the other thing, like when you talk about like helping, like that's the other thing with HLE, that like this is my proving ground. When I get it to like, in by some accounts you could say it's successful, but like not to where I want to put it, right, and where it's going to go. And so it's like it's going to qualify me to be able to really give better coaching and mentorship and teaching, because I can be like, look, I did this from my fucking attic with zero background while I was on active duty, and I got it to here. And then this is our trajectory, like when I jumped in full time. So I got offered a job and I turned it down, and like it would have been like, it would have, and I was all in on it. We didn't meet on the right price, but I positioned myself so I could say no. And that was something I talked to one of my buddies about that were getting out. It's like, you don't have to take the first offer. Like, know your value. And like, I know my value because I know a couple of the like people that work in that space, and like they're all really good people, but like they haven't lived the life I have. Like I wouldn't have, 2 years ago I would have taken that job. You know what I mean? Like, but you start to like prove to yourself, and it builds your self confidence, and not in an arrogance way, but it's like you know how to, the value that you can bring through your experience. It just changes your entire outlook on life, right? And like the little things don't bother you, and like I don't, my temper, like all these things, it's just corrected, and it's forced me to grow so quickly. And I'm still not there. I have a lot of things I got to work on, but I know that this is the best track.
We're not perfect, and we never will be. But the fact is, the matter is, you can't stop. You can't settle. You can't just stay stagnant. You've got to constantly be moving forward.
100%. And then like surrounding yourself with the right people. I mean, the two dudes that are on this call with me right now have changed the trajectory of my life in multiple ways, and like I love you guys, and like it's, I don't mean to go off on that tirade, but like it's all really fresh for me because I'm in the throes of it. And like, it's so important, and we just need more of it. Like, cut out the substances for at least a while. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna preach to
you shouldn't do it.
There's a lot of people that have a healthy relationship with alcohol. I wasn't one of them. And like, I think later in life when I meet my goals with fitness and training, like I'm going to probably go back to having a few beers with the boys every once in a while, maybe once a year, get tuned up and turn my brain off. And like, that doesn't sound too bad because I have to live in the moment all the time, like all the time. And like used to, I could get a reprieve, but cutting that out, cleaning up your diet, spending time in the outdoors, and surround yourself with people. Like those four things, I won't say it'll fix everybody because it probably won't, but like that would probably correct like 80 to 90% of the mental health issues we have in this country, and it's an epidemic. If people cared as much as they did about the mental health as they did fucking COVID, we'd be in really good shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's killing way more, and it's not just veterans, and veterans get all the publicity in the press, and it's one of the reasons why I like have been really adamant that like HLE is not a veterans organization. We obviously attract a lot of vets with my background, but like, I mean, your team leader right there, civilian Carter, like,
yeah,
it's men are killing themselves, and it's across all jobs. Vets just do it. And honestly, I think if you isolate for like the type of people that join the army or the military, which a lot of times come from a significantly like traumatic past, because that I would argue that the army might become the trigger or like continue down that path, but the fucking groundwork was already laid before they joined.
Yeah.
So I don't think the army is the cause. I think we're just treating it simple. I think it's
that chaplain, that same chaplain that I couldn't call. He was asked that question, why? Because SOF is leading the charge with suicides. But, that's one of the things chaplains deal with is suicide prevention and all that kind of crap that actually doesn't do shit. But when he was asked why,
some of them are good.
Most of it's, that's another thing I go on tirades about when people are like, "Oh, I wish you should have called." But anyway, that's another podcast or something. But yeah, he was asked about it, and he's like, "Why do you think all these special operations guys are committing suicide?" And he goes, "Well, it's who you select." And he said, "What do you mean?" Because we select people that are decisive and capable of violence, and when they decide to be violent, you're not stopping them. And and it's not SOF alone, because obviously there's plenty of real men out there, and I think most real men are also capable of conducting violence and also decisive as well. But that's always stuck with me: decisive and violent.
Yeah, I think it's important to have these conversations, and more men need to. And I'm not saying on a podcast, like, but just with each other. Like, find those people you trust and you can open up to, because it really helps. Like, it's crazy. Like, we were talked about it after that when you, Evan, and I did that memorial. Like, we were all weird for like a week afterwards, but it was like, it felt like when you're really tight and you don't even realize it, and you go get a massage and you're just like, that's what it felt like for me. It's just like this, like just saying it out loud to somebody and just like having that conversation, it helps. So surround yourself with the right people. I think that's the crux of what we're talking about. I need to get home to see my kids before bed. So Carter, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, man.
What are your thoughts? You've been quiet for a minute. Kerri and Bogart the entire conversation.
Oh man, just listening and take it in and running through a short list in my head of people I want to reach out to on the way to work and on the way home from tomorrow. Those four things you guys mentioned about, paying attention to what you put in your body, nature, those are all actionable and accessible for anybody listening. And sure, it may not fix everything, but it's a damn good start, right? No better time than right now. But, my kind of closing thought is, we did a podcast with Anthony Farrow, who's fetching feathers on Instagram, big bird hunter out of Colorado. And it was just one of those nights where I was tired and wanted to move on. And it turned out to be one of those super energizing conversations. And at the end, he was like, "Hey, dude, I think I was pretty new to it then." And he was like, "Hey, don't be afraid to have the hard conversations with anybody on this platform." He was encouraging to do that. So thankful to have this opportunity and share this with people. So that's not always easy for me. And I think other people feel that way. So that is important. That's what I got. How about you, Kerri?
Yeah, like I said, I want to help people. I can't help you if you don't tell me you need help. It's absolutely anytime, hit me up. But bottom line is, we said it a few times on here. Hard times don't last. Hard men do. That's it, man.
Surround yourself with the right people, build relationships, spend some time outside, see some green. Well, not a lot of green in Wyoming, but breathe the fresh air. Yeah, I mean that's really it. Like, it's changed my life. I know it's changed these two. Like, and it's crazy, and it's one of the reasons why we've got. I mean, Carter and I have talked about it, especially in the earlier days when it was just like rough. I mean, hell, even recently, it's just rough. And the team is, it's tough to manage sometimes. It's hard to please hundreds of people. You can't be everything to everybody. And we've talked about, like, hey, is this not the direct? Do we want to go a different direction? Because financially, it's not worth it. To be honest, there's, even with the dues, like, it's not from a business standpoint. But like, we know the impact that it's had on us, and then other folks, and like, I've watched it change the trajectory of, like, just not guys that have come into staff, but like other guys on the team that were like borderline suicidal, and they've like come ahead and like got careers and passions and hobbies, and like it's wild. And it was nothing that I set out to do. It's taken on its life of its own. It's really cool. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to go join the team. This isn't a pitch for that, but it's like, go find something, find it, find people, find true, genuine, real conversations, build a brotherhood, find a brotherhood. It's so important. It can't just be your family. Like, it's it's just different. You got to have your family and a strong unit there, but you got to find some, especially as a man, some other men to surround yourself with. It's in our fucking DNA. Like, I think it's, as a species, we have to have it. And I think that's why our brains are all scrambled when we don't. That's all I got.
Good deal. I guess we'll close with this, man. Listeners, we say it every episode, but sure do appreciate you guys. We wouldn't have a platform if it wasn't for our listeners, and the opportunity to do conversations like this. And hopefully at least one person out there, right? I remember the poll the first day when we started the podcast. If 5 people listen to this, we'll have a podcast, right? So if there's, at least somebody out there listening to this, gaining something from it, that's a big win and well worth our time. So listeners, truly, we do appreciate the hell out of you guys, and you will hear from us next week.